Nux. He's an idiot. And a grifter. One day I will make an attack on grifters on him specifically, going through his entire history, blah, 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 blah. Would need to do a little bit of prep work for that, because I need to look into all the issues exactly, yada, 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 see for myself, do the proper, I guess, research or whatever, and then obviously properly show on him. But I saw a video about this by Otterly Noah. Commentary YouTuber, shits on grifters, you know, the works. For those who may not know about Nux, Nux is essentially a bit of a lolcow and a big fucking goddamn grifter. The reason why he's a bit of a lolcow, despite apparently patching things up with like Mutahar or something, whatever, stupid. That's more so a problem that I have with like people like fucking Mutahar. Despite the fact that he not only fell for a social engineering campaign while trying to uncover some potential hacking attempts of the VShojo talent before, of course, VShojo went belly up after committing charity fraud. Very cool VShojo for doing that. Very, very good. Nux got exposed for being a big fan of Shadman. Now, for those who may not know about Shadman, Shadman is basically a pedophile. Yeah, I'm not going to mince meat on this one, or mince my words on this. Yeah, he's a fucking pedophile. Has drawn child pornography of 8-year-olds, has drawn child pornography of Keemstar's daughter, for fuck's sake, and has also done thumbnails specifically for Nux. For those who may not know about Nux, like, in terms of some of his thumbnails, he's changed them now, has done some real fucking towing the line kind of thumbnails where he essentially has porn, but censored in a particular way so then YouTube doesn't basically kick him out. Yeah, really fucking towing the goddamn line. Essentially what I'm saying here is that he is a freak. He also has a podcast that he has hosts with his good old pal fucking Tectone, talking about fucking lolicons. Yes. Himself, Tectone, all being like weird pedo-adjacent fucking freaks. Very, very consistent. And as a result of being outed as basically a patron of Shadman, also, real quick, Nuxtaku is also the exact same fucking dude who made all those JaidenAnimations thumbnails, basically pretending that he and Jaiden are like best friends for some reason. It's really weird. Like, really, really weird. I have no idea why Nux is doing that. I'm saying that he's like, yeah, me and my best friend Jaiden. It's just like, bro, she doesn't even know who you are. Like, why are you saying that you're friends? Like, what the fuck? Like, we all know the fucking examples. Like, he's unironically done a video where he looked at JaidenAnimations Rule 34 stuff, and also has done a video, I think, where apparently he got like an ADHD diagnosis also with JaidenAnimation. It's trying to think about this is like, it's gonna cause me to have a fucking aneurysm, and I'll just be like, why did I do this to myself? Why do I do this to myself? It's a great question. Nuxtaku, a very strange individual, to put it, I guess, very kindly. Very, very strange individual, and has basically, as a byproduct of him being exposed of being a Shadman simp, pedophile, let's not forget, also a lolicon fucking weirdo, has basically been ostracized from the general sort of YouTube community. Fantastic, excellent, very, very good. We love the fact that this fucking weirdo-ass dipshit has been ostracized, as he should have always been, from the general sort of YouTube community. Because, again, he's a fucking simp with Shadman. He said he's wanted to collaborate with Shadman before and has gotten art from Shadman specifically. There's a whole thread about it. Anywho, he decided to, I guess, react to a video talking about why giving trillions to Africa doesn't help. Now, allow me to answer the question. Let's start talking about this at first. Okay. It's because of colonialism. That's why. Explicitly, and even Arlie Noah says this, I know the history on this as well. Europeans, as a byproduct of the scramble of Africa. Now, Nux, I know that you're not very intelligent, but here, we'll do some quick Googling. I feel like we're going to be doing this constantly. So, scramble for Africa. Scramble for Africa was the colonization of Africa, which was about done around the 1870s. The conference itself done by all of the Western European powers to split up Africa amongst, well, 8 different sort of countries. That, of course, being the Belgians, the French, the Germans, the Italians, the Portuguese, the Spanish, and the English. So it was 7. Yes, it was 7 countries. Was split up by these differing sort of countries, and essentially said, the European powers made a deal amongst themselves, saying like, okay, we'll just take over these countries. Because obviously, throughout the entirety of the 1800s, there was already established colonies within Africa. Also, not to mention all the fucking eugenicists that would go there with their calipers to measure skulls and stuff like that. That was also very popularly done in Africa. So much so that, to prevent wars among the European nations, in Berlin, they decided to have a conference with all the main people who wanted to colonize Africa, saying like, okay guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to split this up. We're going to give territory, segment it all properly, blah, 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 to whoever claims it. We're going to draw random lines on maps, something that the Europeans love to do, very, very much so, very often, and we're going to start colonizing these areas, subjugating them, implementing colonial governments, blah, 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 blah. Standard European colonial bullshit. And explicitly, this was done because a lot of people knew Africa, very, very rich country. Very rich in a lot of mineral resources, rich in oil, where this was eventually starting to be discovered, rich in a lot of differing resources. And the European powers wanted to make it such that the Africans were basically put down and not allowed to develop these things for themselves. Essentially, a lot of the problems within Africa in terms of, say, either brain drain, in terms of a lot of the exploitation of its resources, has been basically the byproduct of all these European colonial powers siphoning away all of that wealth, resource wealth, general sort of mineral wealth, what have you, right? Lots of resources within Africa. Rare earth minerals as well. All of that has been basically siphoned away for the benefit of a very, very select few of European countries and corporations. So yeah, the reason why now a lot of money, generally speaking, gets sent to Africa in aid through USAID, for example, the reasoning for that is because colonialism, the basis of the foundational sort of basis of Africa as a byproduct of the scramble for Africa. Not only that, but let's not also forget transatlantic slavery. That's also another problem. That was about, it would have been about 70 years before? Longer than that. No, it would have been longer than that. Would have been about the 1600s. Something like that. Give or take. Africa has basically had not only its people plundered, but its resources plundered for a very, very long time. Hundreds of fucking years. And considering the fact that a lot of these countries just became independent nations in around 60s, some cases the 90s, because of a lot of tomfoolery done by the French after leaving all their colonial possessions, but then them essentially setting up a system such that the African countries are still tied to French currency. There's a bunch of videos about this. Makes it such that a lot of these countries that just have now emerged throughout the past 60 years have been struggling to be able to build economies for themselves, have been struggling to be able to sort of get on their own 2 feet. And guess what? They now need aid in order to be able to do that. Of course, a lot of this not well regulated. A lot of this gets taken away in corruption. It's a thing that constantly happens. You know, every sort of charity drive has its own corruption problems. This is a thing that consistently happens. Even like recently, there's been like there's like Joseph Kony stuff that probably all got taken away by differing African warlords. There's been a ton of differing like charity drives that have had good intentions, but have also been taken away by not only corrupt warlords, but also corrupt government officials. Because again, the problem with Africa is, and the reason why it's as corrupt as it is simply because of the fact that they've just never had an opportunity to be able to develop for themselves. Because the foundation of development for them to be able to stand on their own 2 feet economically and also civically speaking, has essentially been taken away from them on purpose by European powers through colonialism. That's the main fucking problem here. It all stems back to that specifically. What the Europeans have done. All right, what do we have here?
Gentlemen and female gentlemen, we are doing a deep dive on why Africa is so poor. We are giving billions of dollars, trillions of dollars to Africa constantly, and for some reason, it's still dirt. It's still all dirt. I'm telling you, man, I don't understand. All right, it cost America $10 million to capture the El Presidente of Venezuela, but it's costing us trillions of dollars all the time from the entire Western world for money.
That's not a good thing, by the way. Nux to just randomly do regime change of Venezuela, all for the express purpose. Also, by the way, he fucking zoomed in on the wrong continent. He zoomed in on South America and not... Okay, nice meme. Whatever. Oh, man, dude. This is gonna be fucking rough, dude, because I know he's just gonna say so much idiotic fucking bullshit. I'm gonna be consistently pausing it. It's just saying why he's a complete fucking moron. Yeah, it's just constantly saying why he's a fucking moron. Nux, just because $10 million were spent to capture Nicolas Maduro is not necessarily as good of a thing as you may think. The Chavistas are still currently in power. Not much has really changed within Venezuela. So, what was the point of the regime change to begin with? Oh, it's because Trump said he wants the fucking goddamn oil. But now he said, and it's so contradictory, the oil executives themselves have said, like, yeah, we want basically nothing to do with Venezuelan oil infrastructure. We don't want to repair that. That shit's 50 years old. It's going to be really expensive. And the ROI on that is going to be really, really fucking bad. Really, really bad. So we want basically nothing to do with any of that shit. Fuck that. Absolutely the fuck not. The only ones who... And there was a really good Francesca Fiorentini video about this, talking about the main guy who wanted to go into Venezuela in order to do regime change on Maduro. I forget the name of the guy, but he's a Trump mega donor, but he has stake in Cisco. Cisco is a Venezuelan-owned oil company that guy has a lot of investments in. And, well, with the Maduro government being deposed, of course, it makes it such that it's going to be easier for him to basically exploit the Venezuelan oil resources for himself to make a killing for himself. That's why. Trump just did this to appeal one of his oil executive buddies. That's literally the reasoning. And also because apparently Maduro was like dancing and he thought it was an insult. Very cool.
Into Africa, you got Mr. Beast going down there building wells, and it's still trash. It's still wilderness, barbaric trash. Now, I am not a racist. If I was, I might have a different analysis here. But as a non-racist,
you are definitely racist.
This is a lore video. I'm giving money to Africa makes it poor. All right, lock in everybody. I'm excited to figure out why we shouldn't actually be spending money to Africans, but keep it instead. It's gonna be great. Definitely subscribe because here on Nuxtaku we do daily lore videos. Lore includes history now. That's the rules. I don't make them. That was a lie.
Also, by the way, Mr. Beast is not building wells in Africa in order to help improve material conditions in Africa. You fucking moron. Mr. Beast does philanthropy for the express purpose of having tax cuts. That's literally the purpose of being philanthropic.
In the last 50 years, over $1.2 trillion of aid money has been poured into Africa.
Right.
More than the entire GDP of countries like Spain, Australia.
People really crying about like, I can't believe that Trump is wasting money on a blank when they're starving children in Africa. Motherfucker, we've given them so much money. We gave them so much money. Think about all the leering centers they can open over there.
Or South Korea. When all of this...
Are we doing... of course, we're doing like Minnesota fucking memes as well. Nux, I know that you don't understand what this means because... You've only gotten into politics like yesterday because of the fact that everyone knows that you're a fucking Shadman simp and thinks you're a fucking goddamn weirdo. The reason why a lot of money gets poured into Africa when a state wants to do that is for soft power. to be able to have favors from that fucking state. There are very, very simple geopolitical reasonings for as to why people want to do that. Send money to people, you curry favor. You curry favor to get favorable deals. That's how it fucking works. It's called geopolitics.
This began, just 11% of Africa lived in poverty. But by the 1990s, after floods of money and global campaigns, that number had actually increased to 66%.
We gave them trillions and we 6x their poverty? You see, man, listen, dude. You know, honestly, this liberal agenda, it's gotta go, bro. Why are we giving them infinite money, dude?
And today it stands at 30.
What the fuck does the liberal agenda have to do with giving fucking money to Africa? Again, it's called geopolitics. It's called it's called soft politics. It's not the term. Soft power. There we go. You curry favors through doing by giving aid and money to ailing nations, so you get favorable deals in the sort of meantime. That's how it works. But Trump, because he's an idiot, would prefer to do hard power, military strikes, basically killing a bunch of people, which is not going to be very conducive to being able to curry favor with the African people, or whichever country he's bombing at the moment. Like, do you really think that people are going to be in Africa, are going to be big fans of the fact that Trump randomly just bombed a bunch of places within Nigeria, random villages and random mosques and shit? Do you think that's going to be really conducive to being able to curry favors for the people of Nigeria to be able to get beneficial deals for extraction for U.S. fucking companies? No, probably not. But if it was Trump's way, he would just take over the fucking country.
38%, over 3 times higher than when the aid program started. In fact, back in the 1950s, the average Western European was just 5 times richer than the average African. Now the gap has more than doubled to 13 times. Today, over...
Probably has nothing to do with, like, culture, right? Probably. Do you get it, guys? Do you get how I was actually being sarcastic? You're spending all your money on sand? Shut the fuck up, Jack. Bro, look, man, some cultures are just worse than others. That's my opinion. And some cultures are just dog shit.
half of all African...
I can't believe... Blacks are just inherently bad. I'm going to attribute dumb fuck goddamn American culture war points on Africans for some fucking reason. Blacks are inherently predisposed to doing crime, so therefore giving them aid is bad. Okay, dude.
still live on less than $5.50 a day, and nearly 600 million people don't have access to
Well,
electricity.
you could, like, own Africa if you owned enough money. And not in, like, the slave way. I just mean, like, as, like, a real estate developer.
See, that's not to say this is an...
Nux, how do you think slavery fucking worked, you idiot? You would go with a bunch of money, you just purchase people. That's how it used to fucking work, you idiot. And if someone just, like, I don't know, randomly decided, like, I'm just gonna go buy Africa for whatever, that's essentially what it's going to fucking devolve into. It would just devolve into, like, a slave state. What is it? Deposition, rather. Not the deposition, but the deposing of Muammar Gaddafi within Libya made it such that slave markets were able to return within the fucking country. It was really bad.
But technically also in the slave way. Like, I'm not... Alright, moving on.
Highly recent phenomenon. Africa has always...
So do you want slavery or do you not want slavery, Nux? Like, you pick one. It's like, I think people should own... I think, like, some kind of country or corporation should own Africa in the slave way. We should have African slaves again or something. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Always been poorer than the rest of the world, at least for the past 300 years. But for decades, the West's answer to this has been simple. The reason they're poor is because they don't have enough money. And to fix that, we simply just need to give them more. So that's exactly what's happened. Since the 1960s, the amount of aid going into Africa has increased...
No, they need to figure their shit out, man. They need to figure their shit out. Like, bro, they were a shithole before getting trillion...
Now, I'm not gonna lie, I think, this is technically speaking of what the person is saying here in the video. I don't know the name of the individual who's making the video, but I think it's a little reductionist. Now, generally speaking, a lot of sort of liberal thoughts and how they think is, generally speaking, if we just give a bunch of aid and economic sort of trade to certain countries, they're going to want to participate within our sort of like global markets and stuff like that. It's going to makes it easier that way. It's not exactly how that works. It's a rather naive form of thinking. Generally speaking, that's a problem with broader sort of liberalism in general. However, just randomly saying, yeah, we need to just buy up Africans again and own them as like fucking slaves is not going to really be helpful. So, Nux, You're being a bit of a fucking dumbass, little bro.
billions, and they're even more of a shithole now. It's obviously not something that you just give infinite money to and it fixes itself. Like, they need to figure shit out, man. Not trying to be controversial or anything. Don't want to be mean. But also, like, oh my god, dude, figure it out.
Buddy, not trying to be controversial or anything, immediately brings up culture when talking about the problems of the sort of liberal idea of fucking charity and how philanthropy is never the optimal solution to dealing with systemic fucking problems. Stupid.
Oh, bro. Also, how are they paying us back? Like, bro, why are we doing this just as a freebie? Just as a freebie, bro. What are you giving us?
It's called soft power, Nux. If you weren't a fucking idiot, you'd probably understand this. It is about more powerful nations being able to curry favor with smaller nations so they get beneficial deals. That's kind of the point.
It's in return.
By nearly 120 times. It's easy to see why this is
I love how parents like tell kids, we can't just throw money at you, we can't just give everything you want, it'll end up being bad for your development. Let's give infinite money to Africa.
such a popular strategy. It's simple. When we think of aid, we imagine schools being built, roads being paved, children being vaccinated. By and large, this is the strategy that transformed Europe and America into
That
the
is
powerhouses they are
the
today.
intention, of
Christian
course.
nations with biblical values.
But in Africa, it doesn't.
Well, hold on.
Being vaccinated. By and large, this is the strategy that transformed Europe and America into the powerhouses they are today.
Christian nations with biblical values.
But in
Nux. You fucking idiot. How many African countries are majority Christian? This is an easy one. Now, this is from the AI overview. Christianity is the majority religion in approximately 34 African countries, primarily located in southern, central, and East Africa. I believe this was from 2019. I looked this up before. Nux, I know that math is not exactly your fucking strong suit, but this is 31 countries that are majority fucking Christian. Why don't we take a look? How many countries are there in Africa? How many African countries are there? 54 countries in Africa today. Nux, that is a majority. Over half of the countries in Africa have Christian majority populations. Oh, but it's because they're fucking Christian nations, guys. That's why Europe was able to develop. Again, dumb fuck 3 IQ, alt-right, sort of far-right fucking talking point, because, again, Nux is an idiot and barely understands how politics works.
In Africa, it doesn't seem to work. The obvious
Warlord shithole with Islamism and bullshit. You probably couldn't hear because I was coughing.
54 countries in Africa. 34 of them are fucking Christian, Nux. 20 of them are probably, well, we don't know if they're majority Islamic states, but we can assume it's probably majority Islamic. Actually, no. Are majority Islamic. Sure, we can just look that up real quick. Very easy. 21. Yeah, 21. 34, 21. Whatever. AI overview. Not exactly the 100% accurate numbers. But yeah, Africa is a majority Christian nation because of, again, this, you fucking idiot. I wonder how Africa ended up being majority Christian. You fucking moron. I wonder why Islam is mostly predominant in the northern parts of fucking Africa. Something called the Umayyad and the Rashidun fucking... Well, this would have been mostly the Umayyads, not the Rashiduns. It's something called the Umayyad fucking Caliphate. That's why North Africa is majority fucking Muslim, for example. And sort of parts of the eastern parts, northeastern parts of Africa as well. It's called the Caliphate, motherfucker. You should probably learn about this.
But I actually was talking about how our nation is better than their nation, their culture is better than their culture. Just trying to explain that in case you couldn't understand through the cough.
answer that many people turn to.
Again, it's not about fucking culture, you dumbass. Colonialism made it such that African nations don't really have a leg to stand on because of overexploitation of their resources and their populations, making it such that they were not able to properly develop in the perfect European way because they've had their resources stolen from them. And people fucking stolen from them. Nux.
Is colonialism. Europe wrecked the continent, leaving economic systems so bad that the rise of dictators and corruption was inevitable. And while there's no denying that fleets of luxury cars and presidential jets, while around 30% of the continent lives without clean water, certainly doesn't help, there's more to the story. And a growing body of research is showing...
We're also tired of this. Like, actually, colonialism is the problem of all the things. All the things that are bad happen because colonialism is a thing.
That's not the argument that's being made, Nux. If you actually cared, or like, spent 3 seconds thinking and not, like, I don't know, chimping out like a complete fucking moron, you could probably understand, like, yeah, actually, the main problem here is colonialism. That is definitely the main issue here, specifically with why Africa is as poor as it is. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, Occam's razor, it is the correct explanation. But does Nux understand this stuff? No.
All right, baby. All right. Estimates of average IQ across Africa vary significantly due to methodological debates, blah, blah, blah. All right. Okay. So estimates...
Why the fuck are you asking Grok this fucking question? Also, nice spelling of Africa, you fucking moron. Hey, Nux. You're asking about the average IQ of fucking Africans, yet your dumbass can't even spell Africa correctly. Okay, bro. Yet you want to fucking complain about the average IQ of fucking Africans. Like, what are you supposed to say to this? Like, what do you say to this? Look at how fucking mentally ill and stupid all these Africans are. That's why they're so inherently poor. And the dude's asking fucking Grok about the average IQ of Africans and spelling Africa wrong as a result. And again, stupid. Just stupid. He's just an incredibly fucking stupid person. Dude, what's about estimate around 68 to 70 is the IQ. I wonder, okay, this is one thing that I am curious about. A thought that I've had. How bad is brain drain specifically from Africa? I can only assume that brain drain is probably a huge issue in the country, considering the fact that it is as poor as it is, and like I've said before, Africa, in sort of like neo-colonialism, which is a thing, still will have a bunch of people get poached from it by Western countries to help benefit them specifically, right? The sort of over-exploitation of Africa is still not done to this day. And it still is, broadly speaking, not only by the US or the West, but also by the Russians and the Chinese. Belt and Road Initiative, essentially purchasing a bunch of debt from African countries, so much so that they are now essentially put in a debt trap and are forced to have to basically pay unreasonable amounts of debts to the Chinese for a very, very long time that they can't pay off, thus meaning the Chinese are going to be allowed to operate with impunity in the country. The Russians generally do this through mercenary groups, such as Wagner. Wagner will go in, get hired by various African warlords, and they will be allowed to sort of exploit the resources within African nations for the express purpose benefiting the Russian state, of course. And also, of course, the West. Generally speaking, the way the West exploits Africa will be through somewhat similar to... It's a little bit of... It's not exactly as forceful as the Russians, but similar to ways to the Chinese, because the Chinese mostly got this model through the Americans, except they cut out the middlemen of the World Bank, the IMF. Through the World Bank and the IMF, they will give basically very predatory loans to a lot of African countries, but they need the loans in order to be able to develop or do anything, because again, fundamentally speaking, the foundation of Africa has been inherently sort of, I guess for lack of a better term, fraught. It's not great for Africa. They've been having a lot of problems being able to develop. Again, most of these countries became countries not that long ago, fairly recently, ranging from about 30 to 60 years ago. For example, with like, I think Algeria became an independent nation just in 1999, right? That was about 20 years ago, almost 30 years ago. Angola was also in the 90s, I believe. That's another independent nation that happened recently. By the way, also apartheid. Apartheid was a system that was abolished also about 30 years ago. A lot of like African history and overthrowing a lot of the vestiges of colonialism that used to exist in the country, the continent rather, for hundreds of years, have been recently overthrown, and it makes a lot of sense that it's going to take them a lot of time to develop and be able to get on their own sort of 2 feet, I guess, for lack of a better term. But again, does Nux understand something like this? No. He would prefer to blame Europe, like, this all on, like, the fucking Africans not adopting European fucking culture, even though, and, like, not being, like, adopting European religions, even though European missionaries have been consistently sent to convert Africans to Christianity. Again, the vast majority, well, not vast majority, but the majority of African countries are Christian. So again, it's just like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, it's one of those things where it's so mind-numbingly fucking stupid to just go through how fucking idiotic this dude is. Would take hours. And I don't really care to spend hours talking about how much of an idiot Nux is. Again, the only reason why he's doing this is because he's doing a fucking political pivot. That's it. We all know, again, Shadman enthusiast over here. Also, weirdo JaidenAnimation sort of dumbass over here. And also, really bad at exposing a hacker or a potential doxer for VShojo looking head ass over here. Dude who's just so fundamentally fucking terrible at his goddamn job at whenever he, like, I don't know, sets his mind to do anything whatsoever because he's really fucking stupid. Also, Nux, I wonder why you might be having such a problem with fucking colonialism, considering the fact that you yourself are also a fucking colonizer when you squatted in a fucking Palestinian home after one of your relatives got killed serving the fucking IDF in Gaza in 2023. I wonder why you might be particularly triggered by the word colonialism. But I digress. That's fucking Nuxtaku in a nutshell. Some of the reasonings for as to why he's just he's just an idiot, man. Like, there's no other way to put this besides, God, he is mind-numbingly fucking stupid.
Around 68 to 70%. 68 to 70 average IQ. However, this guy disagrees and says, no, actually, it's 82. And this other analyses are like, no, 70 to 80. You're telling me colonialism dropped their average IQ by 30 points? Percent? Yeah, I said percent is a mistake because they're 70% normal people. Like, bro, you're not going to explain colonialism. All right, maybe colonialism is the reason why.
Like, what are you supposed to engage with there? It's just a screed of mental illness. Like, yeah, brain drain is a thing. A lot of people leave African countries because of that, to seek better economic opportunities because they've been overexploited by the West and are still being exploited by the West and now the Chinese and the Russians as well. Like, yeah. So people leave the country to go to Western countries, to go to their universities in order to be able to have better economic opportunities for themselves. Yeah, it's pretty fucking simple, actually. It's almost as if this was always intended by the system of colonialism.
Why they're not actually building modern empires and beautiful societies and civilizations. I don't know. Maybe it's because they're dumb. Fuck, I'm gonna get so canceled. I don't mean this in like a bad way. I'm not even saying this in like a bad way, alright? Different cultures are different. Different people are different. Like, I don't know why we're like doing this, man. Like, I'm not trying to be controversial or anything. But yeah, just...
Again, the only reason why he's sort of bringing up the point of fucking quote-unquote it's not anything about fucking culture. This is fucking, like, stupid. Like, if you just do 3 seconds of fucking research... Because, by the way, this took me, what? Not even 30 seconds to fucking pull up. This is a Wikipedia article, okay? Like, listen, this is really fucking goddamn easy, Nux. You can do this as well. I believe in you. But you can just pull this up and just be like, huh, scramble for Africa. Invasion, conquest, colonization. Huh. King Leopold. Wow, he killed a lot of fucking people in Africa. Man, that guy's kind of a piece of shit, the amount of people he killed in Congo. The exploitation, continued exploitation, even after the French left their imperial holdings within Africa. Man, that's also really bad as well. Again, it's one of those situations where it's just like, it's so astronomically fucking stupid, and it pretty much should tell you everything you need to know. For him, it's about race. For him, he doesn't like the fact that they're a bunch of fucking blacks being really fucking dumb and stupid, okay? Sometimes it really is just Occam's fucking razor, and he's just being racist. Like, that's literally it. That's the only fucking explanation that's possible.
just blame colonialism.
That the money being given to Africa isn't just being wasted, it's actually making the continent poorer. But the truth is that decades of Western involvement might be the one thing holding Africa back. This is how aid laid the foundation for the biggest humanitarian failure of the modern era. For a time, foreign aid was seen as a kind of magic bullet, a surefire way to lift the continent of Africa out of extreme poverty. And to be fair, by the 1960s, there was a good reason to think this. The one major incident where it had been tried, it worked remarkably well. After World War II, Europe was left decimated, and all of this came with a massive geopolitical risk. Across Western Europe, communist parties were quickly gaining popularity.
Welcome to the sort of, again, byproducts and consequences of liberal sort of international hegemony, and the sort of idea that liberals have of saying, like, guys, if we just basically help out economically, therefore, and not deal with any of the corruption issues and the main fundamental problems with a lot of these countries, if we just forehead do economic, like, trade deals, because again, this is the same thing with Nord Stream. The most recent Sarcasmatron video goes into this perfectly. Ukraine, for example, the reason for as to why the Russians wanted to invade them is because they don't see Ukraine as a country. But the Germans thought, like, if we just get Nord Stream 2 and trade with the Russians and have economic relations with them, they won't want to invade Ukraine. Every East European country said, like, dog, it's fucking stupid, don't do that, you should really not do that. Too late, the Germans the Germans and the Russians were able to build Nord Stream 2. Very good, fantastic, thank you, Germany. Great. Great that you fucking did that. And piss off every East European country. Because again, if someone is just a dumbass fascist and doesn't see certain countries as a country and are just willing to sort of just invade them, just say, fuck it, like, we don't care. Ukraine is our little brother, we're just going to invade. No amount of, like, economic trade is going to necessarily help with that. That's not going to fucking help. In fact, it helped exacerbate the problems within Ukraine. It gave Russia more cause to want to do the invasion. So thank you, Germany, for partially playing a hand in the invasion of Ukraine. Fantastic, that's great. Similar sort of concept goes here. If you don't see the Africans as people, as sovereign countries, basically only as tools to be used and to be exploited, basically, it makes it such that you're not interested in economic emancipation for the African people. You don't, or, you know, within the countries of Africa, of course. It makes it such that you just see them as pawns for them to be exploited for your Western companies to make a fuck ton of money with. Again, neo-colonialism.
And there was a real risk that without a strong economy, Western Europe could turn to communism, or worse, be invaded by the Soviet Union. For the US, this would have been a disaster. So in 1947, the government announced one of the most ambitious economic programs in human history, the Marshall Plan. Between 1948 and 1952, the US pumped over $13 billion into Europe, roughly $160 billion in today's money. The idea was that by providing Europe with large amounts of cash,
This is the funniest thing in the world. It's like, if it works in Europe, why wouldn't it work in Africa? Because Europe is a civilization that's built on pretty much the same values as the United States, so the money that goes in would go to, you know, for the most part, similar projects as the United States. All right, not to the horde of an angry warlord. I don't know, man. Maybe it's because the culture.
The culture, man. The culture. Man, the culture. Man, the culture. Nux. I don't know. I feel like it's just going to be a constant repeat of the exact same fucking thing. You're attributing stupid fucking racist ass talking points about African Americans onto Africans. They're not the same. This is like comparing fucking apples to oranges. And I know there's also disputes for how effective the Marshall Plan was. I think it only contributed to about 3% of the Europeans' recovery, of Western Europe specifically. None of this aid was given to the Eastern Europeans because, again, they were conquered directly by the Soviet Union as a part of the negotiations to stop World War II. Stalin demanded that he be given all of the Eastern European countries, and, well, East Germany, of course. Everyone basically capitulated on that. I think the only one who said, like, that's a really bad idea, guys, was Winston fucking Churchill. But everyone was so war-weary and tired, it's just like, fuck it, who cares? Whatever, just move on with it. Just let fucking Stalin have the territories. This clearly won't backfire on us whatsoever. So Stalin was able to claim basically all of the East European countries that he managed to push the Nazis out of, right? Direct imperialism as well there by Stalin. Very, very cool. The idea that it was the Marshall... Again, this is a part, again, of soft power. Basically, the reason for as to why America did this is to essentially get Europe in its back pocket. Secure a network of alliances for themselves. Because they can say, like, we gave you all this money in order to help jumpstart and rebuild your infrastructure and help with your economies. Because the European economies were able to sort of jumpstart back up without much of a problem because they've already been well developed. Not so much with Africa. Because of all these centuries of exploitation as a byproduct of fucking colonialism, Nux. I know this is a very, like, that's a really, really triggering word for you specifically. Because of all the exploitation that was done during colonialism, it has made it such that it is very difficult for the African people to be able to develop and be able to have a normal sort of European style economy because they've been exploited for centuries. Nux. The shocker, I know.
Is similar or something. I don't know, man. Maybe it's because this is a culture that actually succeeded. European nations succeeded themselves. They got obliterated in a nasty war, but they succeeded. They had the infrastructure to succeed. Unlike, I don't know, shitholes in Africa. And again, I want nothing but love and peace and success for the African people. I want them to be able to build beautiful cities.
By the way, this is a consistent thing that fascists do all the time. Also, Nux, they already have large metropolitan fucking cities within Africa. There's plenty of them. Like, shut the fuck up. They may not, I don't know, look as nice as, like, European countries. I guess it also depends on what we mean exactly by nice. Because of, like, the sort of environment that they're in. But whatever. Does Nux care about any of that stuff? No, because he's just a fucking racist. It's really fucking simple. Like, to be quite honest. Occam's razor, people. Occam's fucking razor. Very, very good philosophical concept for people to sometimes engage with. The sort of, what's the quote? It's basically kind of a myth that Africa is underdeveloped. It's not that Africa is underdeveloped. It's that they got overexploited. They were not allowed to develop on purpose. The quote's by Michael Parenti. That's who. Michael Parenti basically said that Africa's not underdeveloped. It's overexploited. Because of, again, scramble for Africa, transatlantic fucking slave trade. They were not allowed to develop in the sort of European style and sort of fashion. If they had the decision to be able to do that, would they have done that? Maybe, maybe not. Who really fucking knows, to be quite honest? A lot of, like, I wonder if Nux here knows about Mansa Musa, who was one of the richest people on the fucking planet because of the amount of gold wealth that he used to have. Was an African, by the way, African king specifically. This would have been about the 1300s. And he did, like, a tour of the Umayyad Caliphate. Or, that might have been a little too early. My time frame could be completely wrong on that. I don't remember exactly this bit of history. But Mansa Musa used to be one of the richest fucking people on the planet. And again, byproducts of monarchy being bad, not being very interested in further development and doing infrastructure projects for the people, yada, yada, yada. And also as a byproduct of, again, the economic sort of coercion that Africa as a continent has been put in for the past several fucking centuries have made it such that they have not been able to develop in a sort of quote-unquote European sort of sense. Again, it should really just go without saying just how incredibly fucking idiotic this shit. It's just a baby's way of just engaging with history. Because he's not actually interested in engaging with history. He prefers to do, like, really strange apples to oranges comparisons, bringing up talking points that conservatives consistently use about African Americans, talking about their culture is the main reason why they haven't been able to integrate as well within America. It's like, that's not the main fucking reasoning. It's because of the failures of Reconstruction and slavery. Same problem within Africa. And because of the fact that there have been policies consistently done by the state that basically fuck them over. Oh, same sort of problem in Africa, but it's not exactly the fucking same. Not to mention, Africa gets doubly fucked because of the fact they still have deals that are inherently fucking exploitative by a bunch of, European Western powers, the Russians through their mercenary groups, and economic sort of coercion and imperialism being done by the fucking Chinese. It is still being fucking exploited to this day.
And glorious cultures and wonders of civilization and have technological marvels. But, like, in
Only
Marvel,
they weren't
right,
exploited.
The franchise of all time, all right? In Marvel, in Wakanda, all right, they have like the Wakanda area with like the epic vibranium, which is the ultimate hacks mineral that can do fucking everything. They were still duking it out in fistfights. They were like beating the shit out of each other to become rulers. They were still walking around like half naked. Like in Wakanda, technologically advanced Africa in Marvel, okay? All right, the best they could do was Wakanda. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
Nux. You literally said yourself it's from fucking... Why the fuck are you bringing up Wakanda? What? Why? Wakanda doesn't exist. Vibranium doesn't exist. I don't know. Like what else? Like, what do you say to that besides just fucking stupid ass racist? Yeah, fucking just stupid ass racist. Oh my! I can't believe my heckin' movie franchise would play into stereotypes and tropes in order to, I don't know, titillate the senses of 3 IQ morons like Nuxtaku.
America could kickstart investment in the economy, and surprisingly, it worked. In the decade after the Marshall Plan, GDP per capita across the region grew by almost 35%. For the Western world, this was a massive success. But for America, it also represented a turning point. It realized that through aid, it could make countries rich, and in doing so, create both new trading partners and long-term allies in the fight against communism. So after the success of the Marshall Plan, the US looked at another continent.
Yeah, it's not exactly how that works. Again, like, I don't know 100%, like, the person that's saying this video is not wrong when they say this, right? Liberals basically believe that through economic cooperation in a exploitative sort of capitalistic sense, that's going to help lead to people being able to economically prosper and be able to participate within the global economy. You know, something that's been generally speaking being set up around the point of the Marshall Plan being implemented. But it's also because of soft power, right? Currying favor with nations in order to be able to build a network of alliances and also have business interests there as well for the main sort of nation that's giving aid. That's the point of it.
Africa. At the time, the continent was still reeling from centuries of colonialism. In 1960, the average income in sub-Saharan Africa was less than $150.
Dude, are we really gonna make believe this was all just because of colonialism?
Yes.
Like, I'm really glad that we're getting this perspective on why Africa's a shithole. But are we really gonna expect that it was just colonialism?
Yes.
Like, yeah, colonialism was obviously a thing. I'm not denying it. I'm not saying that it wasn't atrocious for some people. But like, you think the average income would have been like way higher without colonialism?
Yes.
And literacy rates were under 30%, with life expectancy hovering around 45
Bro, you're
years.
gonna tell me that literacy rate being 30% is because of colonialism? I'm
Yes.
sorry, man. Like, there's no way. There's no way, bro. What are you talking?
Europeans literally on purpose implemented policies through their colonial governments that they fucking controlled to basically make it such that education is hampered for the African people in all the differing countries that they had colonized. Yes, so they can continue the exploitation of the people. That's literally how it works, Nux.
What are you talking about? Get out of here.
Most of the continent lacked paved roads, electricity grids, or functioning governments, but it also had something America wanted: natural resources.
That's right,
The continent
baby.
held massive reserves of oil, copper, diamonds, and rare minerals. With a rapidly growing population, it was seen as a future economic giant. If America could repeat the success of the Marshall Plan, it could unlock a new economic frontier and build a key ally in the process.
True.
So the money started flowing. In the 1960s, sub-Saharan Africa was receiving $500 million in aid every year, but by the 1990s, that number had increased 40 times, to almost $20 billion. Africa quickly became the most aid-dependent region on Earth.
Yeah.
And by the 90s, aid money made up over 60% of government budgets in countries like Uganda, Mali, and Burkina Faso.
The good news is they're sending all their people from there to us now because their places were not fixed by this fantastic project.
But despite this massive injection,
What is this fucking incredibly fucking ham-fisted sort of... Nux, you need money to be able to move to America, you fucking idiot. What, you think the African states are just rounding up a bunch of their people to just, like, ship them off to America? Are you fucking stupid? What are you talking about? It's not how that works, you fucking moron. If people want to emigrate from those countries, they need money to be able to do that, you dumbass. Whatever. Stupid. It's just stupid. It's stupid. He says this because he's an idiot and because he's racist. That's like literally it. But then again, you know, that's the, I don't know, the Israel sort of racism beam being projected into Nux's mind. He has to inherently talk shit about black people in the most idiotic fucking ways possible.
In fact, we have a Ugandan mayor of New York City right now. Not even exaggerating. That's where we're at.
of cash, things were actually getting worse.
What relevance does Zoran Mamdani being Ugandan have to do with any of this? Like, hello? Are you Whoa, I had no idea that the government of Uganda basically decided to dump Zoran Mamdani in New York, and he became mayor as a result. Nux, people voted for him, and he was able to win an election, by the way. That's how it works. That's how elections work. Again, like, what are you supposed to say to this besides, holy fuck, you are incredibly fucking stupid. Like, there's nothing to inherently debunk here. It's like, wow, you are fucking stupid, man.
worse. In fact, from 1970 to 2000, the average income in Africa declined, despite receiving almost 600 billion over this time period. But rather than changing approach, the West doubled down. In 2005, the UN launched the Millennium
Very
Development
corrupt.
Goals, and the G8 promised to double aid to Africa, with the end of aiming poverty by 2030. This wasn't just a government strategy anymore. It had become a public movement. Campaigns like Comic Relief in the UK, Live Aid, and Band-Aids Feed the World turned Africa into a moral crusade.
Yeah.
Ordinary citizens were donating...
True, this became like the giant grift of the time. You know, like just give infinite money to Africa. You know?
That's not exactly, like, what do you mean grift? That's not what a grift means, you fucking idiot. What kind of financial benefit did these governments get in order to be... Well, not even the governments, that these aid organizations get in order... When they did all of these charity drives for Africa. Then that would be a grift, and it would be illegal. That'd be charity fraud, you fucking idiot. We all know why, again, why liberals... And this is mostly the hubris of fucking liberalism here. If they're just like, you know, this thing used to work before in the past. The Marshall Plan used to work. If we just keep doing the same thing over and over and over again and not really addressing any of the root problems and issues within Africa, you know, that'll probably work and it'll fix all the issues. Obviously, that's not the fucking case, and it's very naive. That, you know, liberal naivete, yet again, at its best. The main problem, again, with Africa has always been colonialism. It's not that Africa is underdeveloped, it's that it is overexploited. And it is still, to this day, being exploited by a bunch of different countries. Not only the West, but also by the Russians and the Chinese. To this day, Africa is not being allowed to chart its own course, to make its own decisions, to basically be able to develop on its own. It is still being exploited.
Not even exaggerating. Now, I do have a really hot take. In Niger and Chad and Ethiopia and places like that, the age of marriage for girls is under 15. All right? And that's not even talking about some of the other ones, man. Did you know that 76% of girls in Niger, Chad, Mali, the African Republic, and Guinea get married under 18? 76% of girls, okay? Like, colonialism...
I don't see what relevance this really fucking has. Child marriage laws exist in most states of the United States of America, dude. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? There's still child marriage in America, bro. Like, what relevance does this have? Again, stupid.
Really? Like, we don't need to play this game forever.
Millions. Schools held fundraisers, and celebrities sang charity singles, all under the belief that...
Also, Nux, why the fuck are you complaining about the age of consent being really low within African countries when you unironically have a fucking lolicon fucking podcast? Like, again, like, projection? I can only assume one thing and one thing only, and that this is just Nux projecting.
Today. For the record, that's today. That's not back in 1940, all right? That's not in 1826. That's not in the year 600. That's today, for the record.
Would fix the problem.
Nux, most African countries became countries not that long ago, about 30 years ago, or 60 years ago, that they had their independence movements. Whoa, shocker.
Created a powerful narrative that poverty in Africa wasn't about politics, corruption, or bad governance. It was simply about a lack of money.
That is such a crazy cope. Such a wild cope, though. Dude! No, that's a nutty cope, bro. It's not about politics, all right? It's not about the savages, all right? It's not about the low IQ average, right? You're not allowed to say that because you'll...
No, it is, like, the person making the video is correct. It is corruption, politics, and also, again, byproducts of fucking colonialism. Why are we doing, like, 1850s, like, eugenicist talking points? Like, I feel like Nux is about to pull out his calipers and being like, yes, as you can see, the African is inherently savage because of the dimples within his brain causing divots, making the average IQ significantly fucking low. Are we back in the fucking 1850s and Nux is like an English aristocrat talking about how mentally fucking retarded every African is? And the reason why they're savages is because of the fucking caliper measurements you decide to randomly do on the fucking skull. No, dude. Again, brain drain is a thing. The transatlantic slave trade, that's a fucking thing. Economic exploitation from within Africa being done by all the Western European nations, that's a fucking thing. These are all things that have consistently been fucking happening throughout several fucking centuries. But does Nux understand any of this stuff? No.
Be called racist. They just don't have money, all right? But how do they get the money? Like how do we get money? How did that happen? We weren't born with infinite money.
And Nux, okay. Here's an example for you, Nux, okay? Some of the largest diamond mines on the planet reside within Africa. Here, let me get that real quick. Some of the largest diamond mines are in Africa. I believe, in specifically Botswana. These mines right here are some of the largest on the planet. Same with Canada, by the way. We also have giant fucking diamond mines. Why do you think a lot of these countries do not see the benefits of these fucking goddamn, of the profits from these natural resources, from the diamond mines? Allow me to show you a company known as De Beers. De Beers is a British multinational diamond company that specializes in the trading, mining, and marketing of diamonds. The company is active in open pit, underground, large scale, alluvial, and coastal mining. It operates in 35 countries, with mining taking place in Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, and Canada. Yeah, by the way, yeah, Canada, a Western Christian based nation, quote unquote. Yeah, we're also getting fucking exploited by these British dipshits over here. Like, yeah, we don't see much of any benefit from our fucking diamond mines because of these British fuckwats taking our fucking diamond wealth from our fucking people. And do the Canadian people get any fucking say into that? No, of course not. Because, again, it's all about fucking colonial exploitation. Guess what? Nux, I know that this is a difficult you used to be fucking Canadian, by the way. Or you are Canadian, I think. I'm pretty sure Nux is Canadian. You should know this. We used to be a fucking colony of the British. And then, obviously, we gained our independence from the British. You should know this stuff. And we're still getting exploited by British companies to this fucking goddamn day. I wonder why a lot of African countries are not able to see a lot of the main benefits and economic productivity from their fucking resources. Oh, it's because, again, they keep getting fucking exploited by all these differing Western corporations and countries. Nux.
I don't know, the northern hemisphere or whatever.
And if we just gave enough of it, we could solve that problem. By 2010, aid flows to Africa had reached over $50 billion a year, the highest level in history. Yet nearly 2 decades later, those efforts have fallen dramatically short. 400 million Africans still live on less than $2 a day, the highest number in history. And the continent's share of global trade remains below 3%, and many countries now are poorer than when they were in the 1950s. All of that raises a pretty obvious question. Why did aid manage to kickstart the European economy, but totally failed to do the same in Africa?
It's called corruption. Africa is a very corrupt country, and again, colonialism has made it such that these sort of vestiges of sort of like liberal governance and liberal sort of states were not able to be possible within Africa. Again, it's not about the country being underdeveloped, it's about the population being overly exploited.
The answer was, and how completely correct it is.
Africa, like always, a range of ideas
not
from the continent's geography to its colonial history.
Like, again, you have to be like mentally fucking retarded to think that your answers are fucking correct. I'm gonna be quite honest. You have to be like a complete fucking dumbass to think that anything this like 3 IQ moron says is correct.
Geography and colonial history, bro. What does that even mean? We have to do stuff to actually make money ourselves. No, you're not. What does that even mean?
It's pretty fucking important to bring up colonial history if you're talking about Africa, bro. Yeah, like, again, scramble for fucking Africa. I don't know, like, transatlantic fucking slave trade. These are all fucking things that were exploited by, European fucking nations. The slave trade that fucking started, again, in the 15th century, Nux. That was about 600 years ago, bro. 600 years. That's how long the African nations have been getting, or Africa has been getting fucking exploited by Western colonial powers.
Colonial history? Bro, you were given trillions of dollars. All right, America gave Africa over $2.6 trillion. All right, colonial history? This is like saying, well, my grand...
Okay, now he's just lying about the numbers. No, it was given about $1.2 trillion. And again, because of liberals generally saying, like, well, you know, if we just provide, economic stability, therefore, it's going to all be okay, forehead. We all know why philanthropy and trading, again, is not going to be necessarily the main thing that fixes these problems. Liberal fucking delusions, of course. Thank you, liberals. That's not going to be the main solution to the fucking problem. Again, it is about addressing the corruption problems that have been caused by colonialism. Again, it all routes back to colonialism, Nux. It's almost as if it is very important to engage with colonialism if we're talking about Africa. If we're talking about the issues with over-exploitation of fucking resources and people, it turns out it is incredibly fucking important to talk about, colonialism, because of what happened within Africa. But again, this fucking, does this fucking troglodyte understand any of that stuff? No, because again, he's the dumbass.
Grandfather was a slave, so therefore I'm not allowed to get a job. Like, oh my god, dude. I love how no one's
Nobody fucking thinks like that, you troglodyte.
mentioning the idea that maybe the culture is inferior. Yeah, it's totally not the culture that's inferior.
But in the last few years,
Again, I don't know why we're trying to apply, like, American culture war talking points about African Americans onto Africa when the conditions are completely fucking different. Again, it's just because he's racist. Like, that's literally it.
school of thought has gained particular attention amongst development experts. Their idea is simple. It can all be explained by something economists refer to as institutions. These are the frameworks that govern societies, things like the rule of law, property rights, and democracy. And they might be the single most important factor when it comes to explaining why aid might be making things in Africa worse. When the Marshall Plan began in Western Europe,
I'm going to tell you right now, random dude who's making this fucking video, this complete moron does not understand any of that stuff.
Europe had the infrastructure of functioning states. Ministries, legal systems, and public institutions, both damaged, had existed for decades. These institutions provided the framework needed to rebuild. They could...
What inspires the rule of law in different nations?
Yes.
Like, obviously, the rule of law in Syria and the rule of law in America operate differently. What possibly could guide the rule of law in these different nations to be so fundamentally different? For example, in Syria, they marry 9-year-olds. In America, well, they don't do that legally. So, I mean, the reality is, it's just...
Child marriage remains a significant issue in the United States, primarily regulated at the state level with a patchwork of laws that often allow minors to marry with premarital or judicial consent. It's a problem in the United States of America. I guess America is a culturally undeveloped fucking shithole now, by your logic, Nux.
Seems like rule of law is not enough. You need a rule of law to be based on fundamentals that are important. Like, some argue, rule of law that's based on biblical values, like, you know, America, a Christian nation, actually is just far better.
How many times do I fucking... Majority of African countries are Christian, Nux. As of 2023, there are an estimated 718 million Christians within Africa. This is just like forehead easy fucking Google stuff. But this fucking complete moron with over 2 million fucking subscribers, this slop tuber, this barely cogent fucking moron, just says this like stupid fuck shit about Africa as if he has like an authoritative voice in all of this. It's like, no, dude, you're just a fucking simpering moron and an idiot who's obsessed with fucking Hasan. Doesn't this dumbass have like 200 fucking videos on Hasanabi? The greatest terrorist ever since Yahya Sinwar.
There's the rule of law based on, let's say, radical Islamic values, like in Syria. Let's say. Or just barbarian warlord tribal shit. You know, maybe it is actually the culture that causes the rule of law to be decided. And it's not just the fact that rule of law, period, is enough.
collect taxes, distribute resources, and enforce...
Again, like, the only thing you can say about this motherfucker constantly bringing up culture is the only reason why he's doing the 3IQ conservative talking point about, oh man, it's all because of the culture, guys. It's all culture, blah, 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 is just because he's racist. It's just fucking racism. Like, listen, it's called Occam's razor, motherfucker. It's really easy, actually.
Laws, all essential functions for a stable and functioning society. But in much of Africa, the picture was very different. Most African states had only recently gained independence, and governments were either newly formed or inherited from colonial administrations. But in both cases...
Very good point here by this dude making this video. Mm-hmm.
The institutions were generally designed for one purpose, to extract wealth.
Yes.
Go back to warlords! Colonialism leaves, they get their independence, and it immediately goes back to give all money to the chief. Isn't that amazing, bro? It literally just reverted back to the...
Because, again, it's made it such that, oh, the European countries have made it such that a lot of these countries are not able to benefit from their own resources because of how inherently corrupt it is. Again, European nations inherently stunted the development of a lot of African nations so they can continue exploiting them for their resources, Nux. That's exactly what the video said, by the way. But is this, like, simpering fucking retard, this moron, paying attention to any of that? No, because, again, he just prefers to be racist.
cultural roots. And it's like, I can't figure it out. I can't possibly figure out why giving infinite money to the warlord doesn't actually make the cultures better.
And almost entirely to serve the interests of the ruling elite. Indexes tracking the quality of government institutions have consistently found African countries near the bottom of the list. In 2025, African nations made nearly half of the bottom 30 countries on the Polity Democracy ranking. It's not hard to imagine where pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into these states goes wrong. Money that was meant to fund roads, schools, hospitals, electrification often goes straight to the hands of the ruling elites. Presidents who fly private jets to international conferences, or government ministers spotted wearing $60,000 Rolex watches during anti-poverty meetings. Estimates suggest that the continent loses around 30.
This is exactly like the Somalian scammers in America. They're all driving like Porsches. They're like on welfare.
Of course, this fucking moron is going to repeat the schizophrenic fucking lies made by that dumb fuck moron, Nick Shirley, whose brain barely fucking operates, to say, like, yeah, dudes, also, this is totally a thing that's happening amongst Somal. Again, why are we comparing apples to fucking oranges here, Nux? Why are we comparing issues that are happening in America to issues that are also happening in fucking Africa? Again, he's just saying this because he just fucking hates black people. Honestly, Occam's fucking razor, man. Occam's razor. It really is just that simple. He's just a dumb fucking racist.
Alright, they can't get a job, they're on welfare, government-funded housing, and they drive a Porsche. It's the same thing, dude. Arafat's wife had a Hermes bag, exactly.
$80 billion every year due to corruption, and 30% of all the aid money it receives. Over the past 50 years, this could amount to hundreds.
It's crazy how this keeps happening, bro. It keeps happening in like all these places, like the Hamas terrorists, right? The leaders of Hamas are all trillionaires, like billionaires. Well, we're all billionaires, we're all dead now. But they were all billionaires, you know?
What kind of fucking mentally retarded fucking point is... Yeah, Yahya Sinwar and all these, they're fucking billionaires. What are you talking about? What? Well, then again, Nux was a squatter in a Palestinian's fucking house, so it makes sense why he repeats very often every fucking Israeli propagandistic fucking talking point, because again, he himself is also a fucking colonizer.
It's kind of weird how this keeps happening.
Billions of dollars being stolen. But the problem isn't just that this money is effectively being wasted. It also actively supports the very institutions that make development so hard.
That's right. It literally is funneling power to the warlords that'll maintain their powerful infrastructure against the people. Now,
damn, it's almost as if, again, just doing charity forehead and giving aid to forehead is not effective. And every sort of leftist has said, like, yeah, it's nice to do aid and do charity and shit like that, but that's not going to address a lot of these systemic fucking issues. Again, it is about critiquing systems of power, Nux. Something that you're not doing by doing, like, 3 IQ racist screeds on the internet talking about all the Africans are poor because they're just Africans and they're just meant to be destined to be poor. I'm Nuxtaku. I'm incredibly fucking astute, and I have, and I very much so when I'm talking. I know a lot about fucking politics. I'm not a complete fucking moron.
If society would have been allowed to run its course more naturally, the people would eventually overthrow the corrupt warlord. But now, it's not only a corrupt warlord, but it's a corrupt warlord that's also a billionaire.
Yeah, it's almost as if, again, Western nations do this in order to be able to extract resources for themselves, Nux. It's almost as if, again, this is what neo-colonialism is. Again, Nux, it's almost as if this is all colonialism, Nux. That's very scary, terrifying word that you're not willing to fucking engage with because you yourself are probably a fucking colonizer.
But you're racist if you talk about that.
In a normal democracy, governments are funded through taxes, and that creates a...
I don't know, bro. The fact that you keep talking about their culture being the main problem, yes, that makes you a fucking racist. Because, again, the only reason why you are starting to bring up the corruption issues within Africa is because the video itself started talking about the corruption issues of Africa. You wouldn't know shit about that, even if it fucking smacked you in the face, unless the video itself, which is bringing up the accurate point, talking about, oh, it's exploitation from the ruling classes and elite within African fucking societies that are causing a lot of these problems. You wouldn't, like, know shit about that if it fucking didn't smack you smack dab in the fucking face, bro. You wouldn't know about any of that stuff because, again, buddy, you're a fucking pedophile, dumbass fucking racist. Like, that's literally it. Again, same dude who gets fucking a bunch of artwork from fucking Shadman. Had thumbnails made by fucking Shadman.
A relationship between the state and the people. When the people pay taxes, they expect services in return. And if the ruling class fails to provide this, then they run the risk of people demanding a new government. But in aid-dependent countries, this accountability mechanism is broken. Because governments receive their funding from foreign donors, it doesn't really matter what the people of the country
people are
think.
irrelevant.
And so corruption...
This is actually a very good point being made by the creator of the video. I don't know what the name of the creator of the video is. Of course, the fucking Nux doesn't say, but whatever. Does Nux even, does Nux even fucking credit who it is? The Invisible Hand. I'm not sure who the Invisible Hand is. Good job, Nux. You did the bare minimum. More than I would expect from a conservative like yourself. by the invisible hand. This is a actually pretty decent point that the invisible hand is saying here, talking about like, yeah, it's about resource extraction and exploitation. That's literally the main problem. But again, Nux is like too fucking stupid to be able to engage with this very, very point. He just hears like certain buzzwords and then his like brain goes off in like a, I don't know, like schizophrenic fucking rant. He, I don't know, like chimps out, for lack of a better term. Loses his fucking goddamn brain and talks about like, oh, it's not colonialism, it's all because they're stupid and low IQ like I am or something. It's like, no, bro. Like the point of the video is like, or the point that the video is making is directly contradicting the 3 IQ shit that you're fucking saying right now, buddy. Like, you're making yourself look like a complete buffoon.
Is able to persist with very little domestic resistance.
That's crazy.
This pretty much sums up the continent's political process for the past 50 years. Take Malawi, for example. At various points in the 2000s and early 2010s, foreign aid made up more than 40% of the national budget, but huge amounts of money was being stolen by government officials, paying for things like luxury cars, private homes, or even international shopping trips. You might expect a scandal to spark mass outrage, and after all, the government was siphoning off millions that were meant to serve the public, but that simply never happened, because there was basically no political fallout, as the government's funding came from foreign sources, people most affected by the mismanagement of public funds, the Malawian citizens, and very little power to demand systemic change. This isn't unique to Malawi. The same dynamic has been occurring across the continent for decades, and it in part explains why the country still has such high levels of corruption. Of course, some level of corruption exists in basically every country, especially during the early development stages. But even under these circumstances, a country can usually still achieve economic.
Yeah, by the way, Nux, because the point, good points are being raised here, specifically by the invisible hand. Nux can't fucking engage with that, fundamentally speaking, because he's too stupid to be able to engage with a point like that. Like, unironically, he is way too fucking stupid to be able to engage with accurate sort of points, talking about like, yeah, the main problem is very much so with colonial exploitation that has been done by Western fucking powers. And since a lot of these nations within Africa have only recently become nations, it makes a lot of sense that they're going to have problems with development due to the fact that they have been so heavily exploited for the past about 600 years. But Nux is incapable of engaging with that very simple analysis because, again, he's just a fucking idiot.
Development. Small businesses, farmers, and entrepreneurs can drive progress from the ground up, creating jobs and expanding access to goods and services without relying heavily on the state. This is another one of the main problems with aid. It makes ground up work much, much harder. Because aid makes this route of development far less likely. That's because more often than not, the things being provided by aid organizations are in direct competition with local businesses. Take the textiles industry.
I didn't even think of that. I didn't even think of that, dude, bro. Like, think about it, man.
You definitely didn't know about any of that shit, dude.
What could the people in Africa do? All right, they're not developing supercomputers for the most part. All right, so what can they do? I don't know. They can make bricks. All right, but what if we give them bricks? We are destroying the job market for bricks. Dude, diabolical.
By the early 2000s, nearly 80.
That's kind of the point, Nux. Yeah, that's kind of the point, Nux. Because again, they want to continue exploiting Africa for its mineral fucking wealth and resources. Nux. It's almost as if this was always the point of neo-colonialism, Nux. Almost as if this was always intended. Nux. I don't know how many times this needs to be said, but this man is incredibly fucking stupid, dude.
80% of the clothing sold in some African nations came from abroad. At first, that might seem like a win-win. Clothes were cheap, and aid organizations feel good about reducing waste in Western countries. But the effect on local African industry was devastating.
Dude, empathy is literally not only destroying the West, but it's also destroying Africa too. Like this hyper-feminized movement in the West, like this feminism empathy push that makes everyone just have infinite empathy for everybody, it's not only destroying us, it's destroying them too. It's just cancer. It's actually just cancer.
In Ghana alone.
What the fuck does that even... Are you doing the Ali Beth Stuckey sort of talking point about suicidal empathy? Rather fucking ham-fisted attempted and probably done in the most fucking stupid possible way. Like, no, you fucking idiot. It's not because of liberal sort of empathy. No. The reason for as to why Africa is as exploited as it is. That's fucking stupid. You have to be an idiot to fucking think like this. Well, then again, we are talking about Nuxtaku here. He is very, very fucking stupid. That's not the main problem. Suicidal fucking empathy. That's probably something I need to fucking look into, by the way. This, like, the Ali Beth Stuckey dumbass fucking shit about liberals being suicidally empathetic. And that's the main reason for as to why the West is quote-unquote falling or some fucking idiotic shit. No, you idiot. The main problem, again, as the video accurately points out, is because of corruption and exploitative deals being made by the West, the precious West that you love to fucking sim for. Oh, crazy. By the way, it's not empathy, it's because aid organizations off the religious give our garbage clothes instead of money, which is more useful. That's a great point there, Alex. Oh, It turns out we tend to give a lot of our fucking leftovers and garbage to the Africans because it's like, whatever, they'll probably be okay. Who gives a fuck? They don't need any high quality stuff or money in order to be able to fucking properly develop. Stupid.
Over 80% of domestic textile factories shut down between 1990 and 2010, which meant thousands of jobs disappearing. And with them, so did the knowledge, machinery, and networks needed to sustain a homegrown industry. In fact, in the last 2 decades, Africa's industrial sector has shrunk from 15% of the continent's economy to now just 10%. This isn't a coincidence. Academic research has found that on average, foreign aid hurts industrialization in Africa. Even the World Bank, one of the biggest aid
I'm
organizations.
not trying to be controversial here or anything, but it's almost like, if the kid doesn't figure shit out themselves, they're gonna be incapable to do shit for life.
Like, the fuck does that even mean, man? Like, what does that mean? No. Again, it's called neo-colonialism. Yeah, well, say hello to Nuxtaku, Alex. He's really fucking stupid. No, it's called colonialism. Nux, this is exactly how it fucking works. Neo-colonialism, specifically. The point is, exploitation being done by richer, more powerful countries so they can get favorable deals for their business interests. It's almost as if this has basically been the story of Africa for the past 600 fucking years at this point, Nux. But does Nux understand any of this? No, he doesn't, because again, he's a fucking idiot. Like, he's just fucking stupid.
Like, you are giving them the crutches and they'll never learn how to walk.
In the world, found that periods of increased aid tend to weaken local manufacturing. But it's not just domestic industries that suffer. The entire structure of the economy can be distorted in ways that make economic growth far less likely. To understand why, it helps to look at how countries actually grow rich. In the last few decades, almost every country that has achieved rapid development has done so through an export-led model. Nations like South Korea, Taiwan, and China have all seen huge amounts of economic growth in the past few decades. And they did this offering low-cost goods that appeal to Western consumers and then selling them on the international markets. Over time, this allowed them to industrialize, build up domestic industries, and eventually move up the value chain. But there is an essential part of the process that people tend to forget: maintaining a weak currency. Doing this makes the country's exports cheaper on the global market and boosting demand from foreign buyers. With increased demand then helps local.
By the way, this only works with the United States of America being the global reserve currency. If the United States is no longer the global reserve currency, guess who's about to start having a lot of problems with their export economies? Those Asian fucking nations.
Industries grow, creating jobs and bringing in valuable foreign income, further fueling development.
Nux definitely doesn't understand any of this
Into the
stuff.
country, it needs to be converted into the local currency so that governments and aid organizations can actually spend it. But doing this pushes up the price of the currency on foreign exchange markets in response to the high demand. Having more valuable currency may not sound like a bad thing, but it actually causes a serious problem. The more expensive currency means that for foreigners trying to buy a country's produce, everything suddenly becomes more expensive. So people simply stop buying.
Of course, it's inflating the entire economy. Because everything is really supply and demand. But once you have so much more demand, then all the suppliers are going to want more of the demand. You know, like, they're doing their absolute best here. Like, everyone wants to sell for something that they can use to buy other things. So everything's just going to be driven up in price. If you send it infinite money here, it's just going to completely destroy the economy. Inflation's going to be insane, and there's nothing they can do about it. Because we're...
What? No, you idiot. Like, what are you fucking talking about? That's not the main sort of problem here. I don't know how many times this needs to be said. The African nations have not been allowed to develop their own resources, so they can't participate within the global economy. Because again, Western companies want to directly exploit African natural resources for themselves. That's like what you're supposed to do. Oh, 1000%, Alex. Again, we've already talked about the political sort of aspect in this particular sort of way. Yeah, it also plays into politics. Again, it's all like jockeying for position, yada yada yada. Like, it's all fucking geopolitics, soft power, like I've mentioned earlier. But Nux doesn't understand any of that stuff because he's too stupid to understand any of that stuff because he's only gone into politics like relatively recently because he's an idiot. No, like, part of these sort of problems is that it's meant to develop Africa. It was never meant to develop Africa. The European nations always intended for Africa to be under-fucking developed. This has been always the point. Again, neo-fucking colonialism. The reason why all these countries send the amount of aid that they do for, again, African resources so their countries and their corporations can exploit their resources for themselves is simply just due to the fact that it's always been about the exploitation of African natural resources. They will always do the excuse of, we're giving all this aid to help, I don't know, the poor Africans be able to participate more within the economy. No. That's not the point of any of this shit. It's all for the express purpose of one thing and one thing only. Western corporations to be able to go into a highly exploitative market so they can more easily exploit natural resources and allow themselves to get very fucking rich. It's how it's worked with the World Bank. It's how it's worked with the IMF throughout South America, throughout Africa as well, for a very fucking long time. But again, we're talking about Nuxtaku here. He doesn't understand how any of this stuff works.
We're jumpstarting their inflation because of our empathy.
Produce. For developing economies,
No,
this
it's
is
not because of your No, it's not because of Western, like, liberal feminist empathy. You fucking retard. You idiot. You stupid fucking moron. It's because, again, there are economic forces at play that basically want to exploit Africa for its fucking resources and have been trying to exploit it for its resources for the past several hundred years. Again, stupid. He's just stupid. Just stupid. Just stupid. Like, what else are you supposed to say? Just fucking stupid.
Disaster. It means the export-led model that worked so successfully in East Asia becomes impossible to replicate.
Yeah, it only works in East Asia because in China everything's cheap. So we buy stuff shipped from China for fucking nothing. All right? If we put things there, then it's all gonna be so much more expensive and just raise the price of everything.
Today, exports account for about 20% of average GDP, less than half of the most successful East Asian economies like Hong Kong, South Korea, or Taiwan. Instead of developing competitive industries and shipping products around the world, aid-dependent countries end up relying on foreign assistance to survive, while their domestic economies remain uncompetitive and underdeveloped.
We are literally teaching. Dude, I'm like, these analogies are just gonna sound so racist every time.
It's not that they're going to sound so racist every time, Nux. It's just that you have no idea how any of this shit works because you're too stupid to understand how this fucking works. Yeah, trust me, I've been mentioning that consistently, Alex. China is also exploiting Africa as well. Listen, the Chinese, they're no fucking angels in this as well. They are also causing a lot of the exact same fucking problems as well. We know this. Everyone fucking knows this. Does Nux understand this? No, because he's too stupid to understand any of this stuff. It's not just the West. We've talked about the Russians doing it. We've talked about the Chinese doing it. We've talked about the Europeans doing this. It's just that now it's China's turn to now also exploit Africa as well. You know, everyone needs to get around it doing, again, colonialism 2, fucking electric boogaloo. But does Nux understand any of this? No, because he's too fucking stupid to understand any of this stuff. Like, unironically, the main problems with Africa is the fact that for hundreds of years it has been exploited by various powers, and now it's being exploited by China and Russia as well, in order to have them benefit for their own economies instead. That's kind of the point of colonialism, Nux. All of this, again, always will point back specifically to colonialism, Nux. Almost as if it has been the main explainer for as to why Africa has been so poor for so fucking long. But does Nux understand any of this stuff or care to understand about any of this stuff? No, because again, he's a stupid fucking moron.
Hasan Piker's dog, Kaya, alright, who's shocked to stay in place constantly and fed all the food that Kaya would ever need, and you put Kaya into the wilderness, Kaya would not survive. Kaya would not be able to hunt for her own survival, alright? I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying.
What kind of, like, ham-fisted fucking analogy is this? Why the fuck are you... Oh, gotta mention Hasan because of all my schizophrenic, mentally ill fucking fans always clamoring for more Hasan content because I love... oh, please, I just need to keep making Hasan content instead of, I don't know, actually being able to engage with anything politically. Because if I actually try to engage with a decently substantive video, I'm going to look like one of the biggest fucking morons on the fucking planet. Quick, get the keys out for my dumb fuck audience. Hasan, Kaya, Shock Dog. I was losing the attention of my 12-year-olds in fucking chat without, I don't know, spamming W's and talking about Hasan, which I always do every 3 fucking seconds that I can. Like, bro, I don't know. Hop off that man's dick. Why do you talk about Hasan so much? It's kind of fucking gay, bro. Like, why are you, a man, talking about another man so much? Why do you have, like, hundreds of videos on another man? That's fucking weird, bro. Kind of gay.
We are not giving these people the capability to develop their own economies because their entire economy is reliant on us. And the moment we pull our money back, expect millions of deaths, instantly. Not even exaggerating.
Of course, that's not to say there's no good
Almost as if that's kind of been the point, Nux, of, oh, the exploitation, colonial exploitation of Africa, Nux. Almost as if this has been by design over the course of several hundreds of years, Nux.
can do. In theory, it has the potential to fill crucial gaps in development, things like building roads, schools, and power grids, all facilitating domestic economic expansion. But that brings us to the final and potentially most serious issue with foreign aid. It almost never effectively delivers. A 2012 report by the Center for Global Development.
Also important to note, it largely doesn't even get to the people. Like, when we saw the Elon Musk Doge thing showing up exactly what was going on with all the U.S. aid, right? A lot of it gets to Democrat-funded, organizations. Then a lot of it just goes to the dictator. And then we get to how the fact that it doesn't even show up because of all the corrupt people in between.
Development found that up to 70% of aid.
Why the fuck are we bringing up the ketamine fucking addict who, again, with USAID? The only reason why they wanted to go after USAID, which is, by the way, the shutting down of USAID is effectively going to lead to millions of people starving and dying within Africa of easily preventable fucking diseases. But I digress. No, it's not because of USAID, you fucking moron. It's literally because of Western corporations using aid in order to fucking exploit the populations of fucking Africa. It's not because of Elon Musk and Doge finding shit in USAID, which, again, they've basically found nothing in order to suggest that USAID is being used to, prop up warlords within South Africa or whatever the fuck. It's just fucking stupid. Again, because Nuxtaku, just like any other really fucking unintelligent propagandist, has to ham-fist certain fucking talking points, because, again, idiot. He can't engage with any of these topics substantively in reality, because, again, idiot. He has to, randomly ham-fist, dumb fuck bullshit that he heard from, Asmongold or something, and just has to, blame Africa for it or some shit. It's just really fucking stupid, man. Yes, that is true, Alex. The reason why Fatah al-Sisi is in power is because of the amount of aid that the United States gives Fatah al-Sisi. With your example there with Egypt. And why does the U.S. send a lot of aid to the Egyptians specifically in order to keep Fatah al-Sisi within power? Because they want control of the Suez Canal for themselves. That's why.
Aid projects either failed to meet their targets or had no measurable impact. In some sectors, the waste was staggering. An audit of health aid in Uganda found that nearly 1/3 of donated medical supplies never reached their intended recipients, lost to theft, mismanagement, or simple logistical failure. In Haiti, after the 2010 earthquake, billions in aid flowed in, yet less than 10% of it reached local institutions.
Oh!
Most was routed through foreign contractors,
What a
NGOs,
nightmare.
or overhead costs. And more than a decade later...
Oh, it's almost because it's all corrupt Nux, and there's a lot of corruption within Haiti specifically. That's why, Nux. Haiti's really corrupt, because, again... Colonialism.
Communities still lack basic sanitation or permanent housing.
Oh my
To understand
God.
why, it's helpful to look at the systems that function effectively.
To understand why, it's helpful to know that the liberal governments have been doing their best to manipulate people into being empathetic so that they can give all...
Yeah, because monarchical France was a liberal fucking government when they left Haiti, dude. Okay, whatever. He has, again, because since Nuxtaku is fucking stupid, he has certain fucking talking points that he's heard from either his, subreddit or maybe from, specifically, not Hasan, from, Asmongold or whatever 3IQ conservative dipshit that he listens to. He has, all these, talking points in his head, so he has to, try to ham-fist it in some way to make it make sense for his 3IQ fucking audience. Stupid. Yeah, 1000%, there, Alex. Yeah, a lot of it was stolen by, was it? It was the Clinton Foundation, if I recall correctly, who basically made it such that a lot of aid that was given to Haiti was basically never seen by any Haitians.
all their money away, and then they just take it on the way, and no one will ever know that it all disappears. Sounds like a good plan.
Good business operating in a competitive market. If it provides a bad product, consumers will simply switch to its competitors, and the firm's revenues drop. And if it doesn't make changes, it may even end up going bankrupt. The point is that people who are providing the product are accountable to the people who end up actually using it.
Look, man, I'm just saying, the Romans, almost 2,000 years ago, had running water. I'm just saying, I'm just saying it's not just, economics here. Economics are a part of it, bro, but they don't have toilets, alright?
What do you say to this? Bro, they don't have toilets. Yeah, because it's significantly underdeveloped. Nux, let me help you. Russia. A lot of parts of Russia do not have running water. They do not have electricity. Lots of parts of Russia, but Russia is seen as a European sort of country. What happened? What happened? It must be because of, Russia being incredibly fucking corrupt. Just like a lot of African nations, because they've not been allowed to properly sort of develop their resources. That's what happens with, specifically with African nations. With the Russians, for example, a lot of it is because of the consequences of shock doctrine on the Russian economy from the 90s, but also because Russia is an incredibly fucking corrupt country. Like, very, very fucking corrupt. It turns out a bunch of oligarchs and people in power significantly contribute to, the worsening material conditions of people across the world. But does Nux understand any of that? No.
Like, I remember when Mr. Beast built them wells and shit, and, like, the wells just stopped working.
By the way, I don't know, like, why yeah, because Mr. Beast only did that as a fucking stunt, you stupid fucking troglodyte. That was never meant to help Africans. That was always meant for Mr. Beast to just make a, I don't know, hecking cool epic video, bro. Stupid. Stupid. It's just stupid. He's just stupid.
Bro, what the fuck does that mean the wells stopped working? Like, I'm just trying to, you know.
Yeah, their upkeep was not fucking maintained. The maintenance of the wells were not maintained, Nux. That's exactly what that means. They were not being maintained properly anymore.
Economically, like, this is a big discussion, obviously, and there's a lot of, like, he's right, but, like, it's not just economics, you know? Like, there's something else.
But foreign aid doesn't
it's called colonialism, which the Invisible Hand properly mentions.
work that way. If a project fails, the recipients can withhold their taxes or vote for someone else. Because funding comes from foreign governments or donors, there's no mechanism for rewarding success or punishing failure. The result is an enormous lack of incentives to actually do things
Why
well.
would the NGO give $1 billion to Africa when they could just keep $1 billion and never get punished for it? Completely true. Literally no lies detected.
And the story of foreign aid in Africa is not simply one of failure, but of misplaced assumptions. What began as an effort to lift nations out of poverty has
We're turning all of Africa into, like, the people from Wally with iPads. You know? Like, it's so sad, bro. Like, I wish nothing but luck and success for these guys.
No, the fuck you don't. If you wish nothing but luck and success for them, Nux, then why the fuck would you constantly bring up the 3 IQ African talking points that every conservative uses to talk shit about as to why African Americans are, I don't know, not able to properly integrate within America? Stupid.
And stifled local industries. That doesn't mean that aid has no role to play. In moments of crisis, like famine, conflict, or natural disasters, it can provide vital short-term relief. But as a long-term development strategy, the evidence is hard to ignore. Aid has not delivered the transformation it's promised.
I love how this dude refuses to acknowledge the fact that aid did transform Europe, though. Aid transformed Europe. Pumping in billions of dollars helped Europe.
Again, I don't know how many times this needs to be said. It is ultimately the Marshall Project did not really provide the sort of developmental structures needed in order to help jumpstart the European economies. Because again, like I have been consistently saying, Europe already had a pretty solid basis of an economy that already existed, whereas a lot of African nations did not. So they were able to bounce back relatively well. They just got a nice little kickstart by the Americans through the Marshall Plan. That's why they were able to basically reintegrate within the global economy. Nux. That's how it works, Nux. Almost as if it was always intended for, African nations to be made poorer so then they can be exploited by by neo-colonialism, by companies who want to make money off of African natural resources. Does Nux understand any of that? No, because Nux is a fucking idiot.
But it didn't help them. Well, what's the difference? You're glossing over a point here. No, that was a really good video. I like how he highlighted the economic parts of it and refused to mention the other parts of it that I think are actually incredibly important and relevant. AIDS transformed Africa. Shut the fuck up, Chad. Anyway, thanks so much for reading. I hope you enjoyed. This was an economic breakdown of why giving money to Africa.
I'm going to shoot myself in the head. Yeah, I'm going to shoot myself in the head. Obviously, Nux is mentally fucking ill, very stupid. He barely understands any of the basics of politics, but he's just going to say random fucking bullshit on the internet and garner a bunch of fucking viewers for the why exactly, because he appeals to the lowest common denominator of the political enjoyers, I guess, quote unquote, and that is conservatives, because again, Nux is a fucking grifting fucking dipshit. I don't know. Nux, stick to making like 500 more videos about Hasan or something, pretending to not be obsessed with the Turkish fucking himbo and his fucking like prize dog or some shit. Like what else are you supposed to say to this? He's just an idiot. Like, he's just stupid. Just someone who fundamentally, I think, is flawed as a human being. You cannot engage with someone like this at the same level, because if you try to do that, just make him, like, stupid. Yes, it's not, again, aid does help in the short term. If we want to have actual sort of long-term assistance and help Africa be able to actually develop, stop exploiting them, their resources, and their people in order to make fucking money. But that's not going to fucking happen because, again, capitalism, that's the current sort of economic sort of model that we exist under. Because, again, as has been said before, by fucking Parenti, it's not that Africa is underdeveloped, they are overexploited. But does Nux care about any of that stuff? No, because he'd rather make, like, his dumb fuck 3 IQ slop video for all of his, like, stupid, very low IQ fans, because he himself is also incredibly fucking stupid. I don't think there's really much else to say besides, Nux, you could have done like 30-second Google searches into most of this stuff and not have made yourself look like a complete fucking idiot, which, guess what? That's exactly what I fucking did. God, Nux is such a fucking idiot.